the Red River rivalry. And believe me, that wasn't easy to say back in my fun days in the 1990s. But anyway, it's the Oklahoma Sooners and the Texas Longhorns going at it in Dallas, Texas. The renewal of this rivalry. And Bryan, I'm going to tell you what, a lot of times we see this game ending in blowouts, no matter how evenly these two teams are matched up. Last year it was a 55-17 win for the Oklahoma Sooners based on a lot of turnovers. They got 3 defensive touchdowns in that game. This year's Texas team, a lot more mature than they were last year. David Ash has stepped it up. He's become a real nice quarterback. But here's the thing. I know you're not going to be involved in this game as far as the side is concerned. It's going to be my free pick later in the show. I know you got 6, I believe it was, at the Golden Nugget way back in June. And you were telling me earlier that before before we got out of the month of June, the line was as high as 7 or 8 in some spots.
Yeah, it was.
Or I mean at the Golden Nugget, not in some spots.
At the Golden Nugget. Sooner Adam was his name. He's a local guy who bets for a living, and he follows Oklahoma. And I happened to see him over at the Hilton one day, and we talked about this game. I said, yeah, I got 6. He goes, I got 7. And then I went back a couple weeks later, and it was 8. He says, who the hell's betting Oklahoma? I mean, they're not very good. And so he's got better lines than I do. But, with the current line of 3, I don't have a definite opinion on it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, if you got 6, a couple of months ago, and it's obviously down to 3 now, and it's based a lot on Mark on this Oklahoma offense that has been missing in action quite a bit. Now, last week, we saw the big battle between Texas and West Virginia in Austin, and Texas was up 38-34 going into the fourth quarter. But as we know, when you're going up against Geno and the Mountaineers, no lead is safe. I can't really fault what Texas did on defense because West Virginia is a whole different animal than the rest. There ought to be 2 statistical categories for college football defenses. You ought to have your statistical category and be rated on how you do against West Virginia and then how you do against the rest of the college football teams on your schedule. But the bottom line is with this, I know Oklahoma's offense is no West Virginia offense. I mean, simple as that.
Absolutely. I mean, the big thing coming into this game is coming into the season, we looked at Texas. We didn't look at Texas as an offensive juggernaut. We were looking at them for their defense. Sure. And all of a sudden, in the last 3 weeks, they've given up 31 points to Ole Miss, 36 to Oklahoma State, and, of course, as you said last week, 48 to West Virginia. Let's just forget about the West Virginia one. We're not going to talk about that. My problem is the 36 that they gave up to Oklahoma State. And Oklahoma State went up and down the field. They could have had more points on the board in that game. They had a couple turnovers, had to settle for a couple field goals. The 31 against Ole Miss, I don't have a problem with them in that game because they scored 66. Yeah, it was a blowout, and, they got laxed. But they need to step it up. I think the Oklahoma offense is just what the doctor ordered because this is not a spectacular offense. I know coming in everybody was high, Landry Jones, and I've never been a Landry Jones fan. When it comes to the big games, it just seems like he disappears. And I know you look at the score last year and you're going to say, like you said, 55-17, right. But it's a counterfeit blowout last year because of the turnovers. You got revenge with Texas. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game, and I think Texas, their offense is going to outscore Oklahoma here.
Well, there's no Broyles at wide receiver anymore. And when he got hurt, when he was a member of the Oklahoma Sooners, that's when Landry Jones' stats in the Oklahoma offense started to shift downward. And when I was watching this team a little bit, keeping an eye on them in fall camp back in August, you knew going into the season that they had suffered a lot of offensive line injuries already. They were kind of a walking mash unit up front. Don't have great skill wide receivers. And I'm with you guys. Landry Jones is okay, but he's not the kind of guy who's going to create a lot when things start to break down. He's probably going to make more mistakes than anything else. And I think you got to credit the guy that he hasn't lost games for this team, so to speak. You're not going to see Landry Jones throwing one in the flat, getting it picked off, going the other way because he's under a pass rush. What he usually does is take the sack or throw the ball away. And it does hurt his stats also, but the bottom line is he doesn't make those costly mistakes. So we might be dogging Landry Jones a little bit too much. He just might not be the right fit for a team that doesn't have a great offensive line. But by the way, this is my free pick. I got to go with the Texas Longhorns. You could have got 6 if you were here in Las Vegas at the Golden Nugget like the 3 of us were back in June. Bryan was sharp enough to grab those 6 points with the Texas Longhorns, but I still got to take Texas here at +3 because I keep looking at that Oklahoma offense thinking maybe it's going to come around, and it simply doesn't. Last week's win over Texas Tech looks beautiful on the scoreboard. They put up 41 points. Dig a little bit deeper, you'll see this team had 75 yards of offense on 26 plays over the final 12 minutes of the third quarter and fourth quarter combined. That's not good. I don't think they're going to keep up with Texas. I like the way David Ash is playing. I'll take the points with the Texas Longhorns, my free pick in the Red River rivalry. Now, don't miss out. We've got plenty of college football and NFL, including Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football all weekend long right here at pregame.tv.